Hey, everybody, it's Rick. I first want to just lead up by thanking everybody for your amazing support in the Webby Awards this week. I'm joined by two people who are the center of the unbelievable quality and accomplishments we get in the Lincoln Project podcast every single week. It's Riley Mayne and Whitney Hayes. Guys, thank you so much for joining today. I really appreciate it. I'm going to actually invert this a little bit and let Whitney lead the conversation. But we want to talk about the Webby Awards and a little bit also more broadly about why we do a couple things that super PACs don't really do, like podcasting and streaming. So, Whitney, take it away.
Absolutely. So thank you all again. Like Rick said, I'm very proud of this award, and it's the first year that we've won this, which is very exciting. And in the larger mission, Rick, I would love to just chat with you about LP's larger mission with combating the disinformation war and what that really looks like in practicality and execution.
You know, we started the Lincoln Project podcast back in 2020, and Ron Steslow did it for the first bit, and then Reed Galen, our colleague, took it over. And then I started doing it, I guess, about a year and change ago. And during that period, we evolved from, it started initially because we learned in our polling and our research that a lot of people were getting their political news from podcasts. And as it went on, what we learned last year, we had the podcast election. The mainstream media has really fallen apart. It is no longer this cohesive source of information for people, and we knew that that the anti-democracy space would get filled up very quickly with the right. It did. So in the last year or so, we've tried to use the Lincoln Project podcast in particular as the tip of the spear in helping to message to folks who are looking for ways to fight back against this authoritarian tidal wave that they're seeing and hearing every day on social media and elsewhere.
Absolutely. And something to add to that is I know that our broader mission is really to speak to those who we can peel off, right? Some of the issues that we discuss and some of the folks that we have on are really definitely relatable, and their stories are relatable and understandable, and that's something that we specifically target. So let's talk about Ryan Hamilton. How hard was he to find? And additionally, how hard was telling that story?
Well, I will say this, and you and Riley were both on the back end of the call that day, you know, watching me interview Ryan. It wasn't an immediate sort of like, oh, this guy's, you know, here's his email. We did have to go to look for him a little bit. We talked to him a little bit, and he knew what Lincoln did and knew what we talked about. And folks, the episode for which we won this Webby Award was called "So Much Blood," and I will say this honestly, it was the single hardest interview I've ever done on a podcast. It's the hardest half hour of talking to somebody who had suffered from a insane trauma caused by big government, and I was honored to do it. But you know, Ryan was just such a straight up guy, such a straight shooter about everything that happened to him, and about the trauma that his wife went through because of the Texas abortion law. And you know, I know we all got together on that right after the thing closed and had a little bit of you know, I'll cry at the drop of a hat. I'm sentimental about some things, but it was an upsetting thing to see the damage that these kind of laws were causing, and the fact that, you know, Project 2025 was built around passing laws like this. And so, you know, it was a special moment to talk to him. And it wasn't, you know, a lot of Lincoln Project podcast guys, you know me, I'm kind of a smart ass. I'm kind of a, you know, I like to have a little bit of fun. I know you're right. Riley's like, no, not Rick. But that was one that was dead serious, and it was real tough. But the Webby Award folks and the people that helped support the People's Voice Award on this really stood up and recognized, you know, that he was an important story to tell, and we were really proud here at the Lincoln Project to tell that story and to get that out there.
Yeah, and one of the things, just kind of tagging onto that, is I think that we are unafraid to have difficult, unfiltered, raw, hard conversations, right?
Absolutely.
And making them relatable to everyone. So we can understand these issues at a micro macro level, but also understand the bigger picture and sort of those big pieces moving around at that 30,000
100%.
view. So,
100%.
As far as podcasts go, there are a lot of political podcasts now.
I had not noticed.
What do you think is the thing that makes us unique out there in this space?
Yeah, I think. Look, I think, and there are some that are bigger, and that's great. I wish everybody all the best. This is a great new medium that is only growing in importance right now, and it is something that we have an audience that's looking for ways to keep up the fight in this authoritarian moment. We got folks who tune into the Lincoln Project podcast because they want to hear some behind the scenes interviews with really smart people. They want to talk about and hear us talk to folks about how we can fight back and to not feel depressed about the world and not feel like everything's going the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really proud of the work that you guys have done in making this such a success this year. Riley's so quiet. She's like, Riley's the one who's got the whip hand on the editing and making this thing look and sound and be what it is, guys. I'm just a trained monkey. I just go talk to people. But
yeah, absolutely. And speaking to that, Riley, so you are sort of the incredible mastermind behind the keyboard, making these cuts come out effortlessly, or appearing that way at least. But we know there's a ton of effort that goes into the backside of all these podcasts. Now, sitting
100%.
in the producer's chair, I also have the privilege of working with you and getting to see like how much fun you have with certain episodes. So can you just kind of tell me about sort of the range of episodes you've edited and what you've sort of learned through the process working on the Lincoln Project podcast?
Sure. I mean, editing is definitely a masterclass in perfectionism. Like, you have to be willing to watch, the 45, 30-minute video 5, 6, 7 times. And I think that something that I've learned specifically from editing this podcast is just that people are so interested in learning more about what they can do, like as Rick was saying, to kind of fight back against the moment that we're in, and being able to put something together so that I can take, the wonderful interview or direct to camera that Rick does and kind of make it make sense for an audience is just a really big honor. So I really love it.
Yeah, guys, editing is the unsung magic behind everything. Every show you like on TV, every podcast you like, every streaming show you like, it does not exist in a vacuum.
Mhm.
People don't just go and stare at the camera for 20 minutes and talk and have it all work out properly. I mean, sometimes, but it has to get,
Mhm.
the edits that Riley provides very frequently turn the conversation into something that is this like crystalline moment that really gets home. It takes out the extraneous stuff. It takes out the stuff that isn't contributing to the direction of the message. And look, God bless my Democratic friends, but messaging is not their strongest suit. And one of the things we talk, I can say it. I can say it. But no, but look, the importance of what this sort of thing is, this podcast that we do twice a week and once on Fridays with what we call the elephant in the room, where I try to really pull back the curtain on something that either you need to know about or that pisses me off, or that the Lincoln Project is working to make sure Americans understand. That time we spend on this, we get so much feedback from the folks who love the Lincoln Project, who love Lincoln Square and the work we're all doing in this big extended family.
Mhm.
It's such an honor to be recognized for this award, and it would not have happened without all the folks out there. And many thousands of you went online and voted for this podcast and for the ads that we also had up this year.
Mhm.
And it really means a lot to me personally. It means a lot, I know, to Riley and Whitney and the rest of our team, because the Lincoln Project has been in this fight now for 5 years, for almost 5.5 years, and it's a long battle sometimes, folks. And we've been doing this for a while because as easy as it would be to quit sometimes and just say, okay, somebody else can pick up the sword and the shield, we won't do that. And so, this Webby Award is an honor. We've won awards for our advertising in the past, but this really, the world is changing, and the political world is changing rapidly. Donald Trump in some ways won because he went on a bunch of bro podcasts last year.
Yeah.
And we got to be cognizant of that, and we got to provide compelling stories and compelling information and some fun and some enlightenment once in a while, to keep engaged across the board. This pro-democracy fight, both Riley and Whitney I'll pick up any tool that works.
Yeah.
If a hammer works on one thing, use the hammer. If a chainsaw works on another, use the chainsaw.
Yeah.
But this is part of a portfolio of tools that all of you who've supported us for so long have that we're so grateful that you've helped us stay in this fight. And this is an honor that goes out to not only to Whitney and Riley and the production team and the Lincoln Project, but it goes out to all of you who are out there who've helped us so much along the way. And we really appreciate it. It means everything that you've kept the gas in the tank for us to keep fighting the bad guys. And you have our commitment that we just don't quit. We have no quit in us.
No, we're here to fight the long war, if you will, battle by battle. So, it's a long fight. Riley, for you, sometimes you have to turn some fast deadlines. What are some of the fast?
Especially when Rick says, "Oh, I'll do that tomorrow," and tomorrow's the deadline.
Exactly. So I have to ask, what is the tightest timeline you've ever had?
It's definitely been on an elephant in the room, because sometimes when that breaking news just happens, like, we want to be on the front line of presenting that information to the people who are looking to us to be a reliable source. And, people, when something scary or traumatic for the country happens, are looking to the Lincoln Project and to Rick. And I just think that, there's something really special about being able to do that quickly and be like, here it is, you're scared, we're scared, but we can be in this together.
Exactly right.
Exactly right. Absolutely. As far as other episodes, Rick and Riley, what are some of your favorites?
Oh my God, I knew you were going to ask this question. And the fact that we've done something like 7,941 episodes, or whatever the number is now.
Exactly. Just a few.
No, look, I'll tell you, I think one of my favorite episodes of the LP podcast, it was Scott Galloway. Yeah. Just such a brilliant thinker with a big heart and a big brain at the same time. Just absolutely wonderful guy to talk to. And we get the chance on this show to talk to U.S. senators and governors and members of Congress and authors and activists and folks from all over the spectrum. It is really an honor. I can't really pin down a single episode that I think was the best of the best, but I mean, Scott Galloway, Kara Swisher, then those are people that I, as an up and coming podcaster at the age of 61, what they've accomplished in with Pivot and Prof G and their whole portfolio of explaining how the world works in tech and business and society. I like to, I shamelessly emulate a lot of that, trying to explain to people how things work in democracy and politics and elections and this current moment we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Riley.
I was going to say, I really loved the Ukraine episode that we did, the special trio episode. I thought that episode was just dropped at a really important moment, and kind of going back to, choosing things that matter in the moment that they matter. And I thought that one was just quite impactful. So if you haven't seen it yet, that's probably
that is a really good episode. That is a really good one. And folks, by the way, if you want to have us to have certain guests on, reach out.
Yes. Podcast at lincolnproject.us. Podcast at lincolnproject.us. That is our email. You can
reach out and say, hey, why don't you get so-and-so on? And we might just.
And I will say it's just such an honor to have like such a wide range of guests on, because too, all of these folks are Lincoln Project fans. They're huge Rick Wilson fans. And so getting them on also is a testament to their endorsement. They're very much allies in this fight, and they see themselves that way. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
As far as like the toughest episodes, Riley, we've chatted about this before. And Rick too, we've discussed like, what is that responsibility to tell that story the correct way? What sort of pressure do you feel and accountability to frame it? Who wants to take that one? Riley first? Rick?
Go ahead,
Well, I
Riley.
would just say for the specific episode that we won the Webby for, you can notice that in a lot of our episodes, sometimes there's B-roll or inserted clips, but when we're telling a story like Ryan's story, which is so personal and sensitive and such an impactful topic, there was a choice to kind of hold back on that and just let his story and his interview with Rick kind of shine through. So I think that versus an episode where you want it to be visually interesting, maybe you're talking about something that is less emotional but more educational, and you kind of use visual media, visual aid for that instead.
Well, you know, I think that's right. That we try to calibrate these things to give people actionable information and to show people, you know, to peel back the wall of a lot of the chaos and the noise and the lies and the disinformation, because we look at this as an antidote to disinformation. And what Riley said is so right. Sometimes we are showing you a chart or a video clip on top of something, and that really, you know, people have told us they like it, and they find that a good way to contextualize some of the stuff that I and the guests are talking about as we go. But yeah, it's definitely a work of calibration in this, as well as interviews and whatnot. Also, I just want to say I'm in Los Angeles today. The sky is dark gray. The fog is low. I did not sign up for this.
In LA, like, come on. Right?
I know, right?
Palm trees.
I didn't want this DLC.
Exactly, 1,000,000%. So adding to that, you know, I think one of the things that makes us unique is we make it very digestible, right? So it's in layman's terms for the masses, because we are in this disinformation war. So making it, not allowing them to tune out. They can take a break. They can't tune out, right? That's something we say a lot. But you know, keeping them engaged and wanting to know more about that story. Fabulous. Is there anything else we haven't hit on that you guys think is so important to share about the Lincoln Project podcast?
You know,
I would just say it's important. Like, I'm really grateful that there are so many people out there who have a willingness to learn and like a thirst for the facts about, you know, the situation that we're in, and they're not afraid to kind of shy away from what's really going on. So I'm just grateful for everyone who tunes in.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody who tunes in and who tuned in today to this. And you know, we'll give you more news about the Webby Award stuff coming up, and of course about the fight ahead, because it's you know, the bad guys don't rest, and unfortunately neither do we. So
exactly. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this, for jumping on. And
well, Whitney and Riley, I just want to say to both of you, I deeply appreciate you both as professionals and as colleagues and as friends. You guys make this thing happen, and without you, it would be nothing. So I love you both, and I appreciate you both like
we love
crazy.
You too.
Yeah, and thank you for being our fearless leader. Legit fearless. Like, let's talk about it. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do it.
Here we go.
Take gloves off. Here we go.
Do my best.
Exactly. So
all right, folks.
Thank you. And tune into the Lincoln Project podcast. Thank you all for your support. We'll talk soon.
See you soon.